to the metal, man. ever regret doing. That if you have tried legitimately to provide value to other people, whether it be educationally or entertainment wise, remember, like, value is not just like entertainment's fine. Like, you can make people laugh and everything like that. If that's your objective, you get up every day to try to make people laugh. Hey, some of the greatest people in the world are those people. That's our stand-up comedians. That's people that kind of guard the frontier of civilization against becoming too PC or whatever. They're important people. So there is, if what you have to create is funny and you just want to make people laugh, you want to have people do better days, that's great. In my case, I want to create things that really make people think, that turn people on to issues they might not have thought about before, and also personally empower them to be better and more successful in their business and their personal lives. That would be great for me. That's kind of my version of this happiness. And if I try to create those valuable things, regardless of viewership and regardless of what happens, because I'm blessed enough, this kind of gets into reason number 2, to not worry about that, then great, I want to do that. And that kind of goes to the second point, which is I believe I have an obligation, and obligation is a pretty important word, pretty big word, to create, because I have a blessed life, and you probably do too if you're English speaking, and you are on a computer. Then you've been afforded many things that other people don't have, and you probably have a ability to upload something to YouTube or write something on a blog or something like that that would be interesting to somebody else to read and consume. Because if you remember what I talked about, storytelling. Storytelling is really the ability for all of us to share our unique experiences together so that we can kind of all simultaneously grow with those experiences. And so for that reason, I think that people who have had blessed lives, and actually people that, like, if you're in a third world country, you can get in front of a computer. Some of those are the most interesting stories of all. But those people may not have the ability to do those things. They may just be walking several miles a day to get water. So if you're in a position where you can teach, where you can share your experiences and your skills, and you've been gifted, or you've been blessed, or you've worked for, either way, that kind of life, I think you should share it. And by proxy, I think I should share it. And I use the word obligation, meaning that I kind of believe that I have a responsibility to do this. And that if something I say can be useful, then I ought to talk about it. Next one is a long one, and that is that every story is interesting. And storytelling is literally the basis, kind of going back to the first thing, of human development / evolution. I'm talking about societal evolution, right? Whether you tell a story to a friend, spouse, whoever, your community, it makes you a better person to share ideas and hear feedback from others. One of the things that I want to avoid, and something I have seen with, quote, content creators and that sort of thing, is echo chambers are really scary. So those of you that have followed my channel or maybe know me more personally, I'm a very devout Zen Buddhist. And I think Zen is interesting because it focuses on trying to distill yourself, your thoughts, your ideas, and the ideas around you down to the closest and core truth of those ideas that is possible. Like how to, the business equivalent of this is first principles thinking. So how do we think about something in its base form with the least amount of emotion attached and the least amount of, like, extra dogma attached? I'm worried about echo chambers, and I see a lot of my friends, especially as they gain, like, prominence or power, fall into these categories where they have maybe unwillingly entered a place where they don't realize that their view of the world is extremely secular, meaning that they basically just have one way of looking at things. And you probably have friends like this, and you probably know people like this, where they only see one side of the spectrum, whether it be politically, whether it be opinion-wise, whether it be PC versus console, like whatever it is. I'm really terrified of that reality, and I think the more that you are willing to go out there, and that brings us to the last reason, which is and beat fear. The more that you're willing to do that, the more that you float ideas it makes you stronger, more informed, challenged. And I think all those things are really important for a human being. So if you put something out there and it gets a bunch of negative comments, like you're wrong, like this is bad, or things like that, then the correct, like the human response to it is like to fold back into yourself and be like, oh, I don't want to create anything else because people won't like it, or something will happen and people will be angry. And I think I kind of fell victim to that, at least as far as videos go. And so to beat fear, though, and to become stronger and more informed, you have to be in the marketplace of those ideas. You have to reach out to other people and talk to them. Some of the most unfortunate parts of like social media is that we have a lot of really intelligent people who no longer go outside or share their ideas, and they participate in these sort of social media echo chambers, because you can find a niche for any belief system that you might have, no matter what. And there will be a group of people who will uniformly support you and push out invaders and anyone that tries to enter into that sphere of thinking. And if you are in one of those, or you know people that are in them, the best thing to do is challenge yourself by looking at the opposite arguments and trying to understand where those people come from. So I know that opening myself up to creating more stuff will put me back into that marketplace of ideas, and thus it will put me back under that criticism, but I think that will make me a better and stronger person overall. Your challenge is, if you've identified with any of these reasons why I've come back, then I think you should try to tell a story. You don't have to create content. You don't have to get as many views as possible. And I would also challenge this, probably a video in of itself, but I would also challenge the whole idea that creating content needs to be an exercise in getting the most amount of views possible. You say, well, Devin, I don't have $1 bazillion. I need to get ad revenue. I need to generate that from views. And yet some of the people that are killing it the most in my personal life have YouTube channels with like 5,000 to 10,000 subscribers, and they're pushing like $400,000 or $500,000 a year, no problem. How? It's because they offer a product, or they offer a service, or an informational-based course, or something like that that's based on their expertise. So say you have somebody that is really just super knowledgeable in a specific niche market, and they're willing to teach that for like $2,000, or let's say $1,000 per customer, and those customers want to buy, let's say it's like a specific area of law, or let's say it's like a specific expertise or something like that, then learning the skill can produce far better returns if you learn the skill. The all-in to learn the skill from a course is like $1,000. Well, if you have 1,000 clients, right, for that $1,000 course, okay, you just made $1 million. So this idea of like, I think that the problem with like content creators is also that by talking about content creation, you immediately limit yourself, and you kind of shutter this like experience into, oh, content creation rewards me via ad revenue or subscribers. It doesn't have to. You can have products, you can have services, and indeed, like the people that are making the most amount of money off of content creation are distributors. This includes the people that are the highest level content creators. So for example, Mr. Beast is making far more revenue for his company off of Feastables than he is off of his YouTube ad revenue. And the people that are producing the best revenue generated results are actually don't need so many viewers that they need to generate those views. So we could do a whole new video about this concept. Just suffice to say that you don't need to be going for this idea. Like if if you want to do this for money, you don't need to be getting the highest amount of views on your platform. You don't have to be Kai Cenat or Jimmy. You can be somebody that offers an expertise, and then you have your own unique structure or funnel of how you charge for that.
With this new AI technology, you can generate unlimited children's storybook videos in minutes, even if you have zero technical experience. All the videos you see here were...
And I see a lot more success with those types of people than I do people trying to become 20, 30, 40 million subscriber content creators or whatever. But you also find that, like, through the pursuit of creating value and by making things that people legitimately want to watch, whether it be entertainment or informed type of stuff, I think that those viewers will come anyway, at least as much as your total addressable market will allow them to. Cool. So you don't have to create content. You don't have to make 100 videos, but you could tell a story. You could write an article, or you could do something that creates a legacy. If you're a professional, maybe you write some experience of what you've done on LinkedIn, and that would help your resumes. You could show people that you've done some work. Like, this is really good for software engineers that know this, that are listening to this. You'll know that this is a big thing because a lot of software engineers have a GitHub or have some kind of examples of their work. A lot of designers have portfolios. And so portfolios are that's creating content, that's telling a story. Like, your portfolio is really just a story of the art and work that you've done. And when you think of things that way, this is why I encourage everybody to be storytellers, insofar as they have interesting things in their life. And you may say, well, I don't have anything interesting. You definitely do. I've never met anybody that isn't interesting. So let me know what you think of this video. You can also talk about this video. Discord.gg/Devin is the place to go, where we have a pretty active Discord. I respond to every message there. And also, I'm going to be creating I'm going to be going back to live streaming. Oh, baby. And we are going to, not in like a daily basis, probably like 2 times a week, but a lot of that will be covering just interesting business and meta type of stuff. I think I better end that video here because my Discord is blowing up and I got a bunch of calls to do. So thank you, everybody, for coming out. I want to know what you think of this. I want to know if you'd like this kind of format of, like, me talking more to this rather than like a specific issue. I just kind of like giving thoughts. Whether you like it or not, I'm going to be doing more of these because, again, it's just kind of about the storytelling. I thought this was an interesting story to tell. So I would love to hear what your stories are. Thanks, everybody. See you next time. If you master this, your life is going to get 100% more productive. You're going to at least double your productivity. And this is a concept that I call agility. Let me explain. So when I was younger, I procrastinated like crazy. And if you play video games, you can probably relate to this. I would always put stuff off. I would wait days and days to do anything. And I would always think about doing it, and I would keep it in the back of my mind. It would be that little bit of stress that would add to that kind of mind cycle that you have, and you just think, I really got to get that stuff done, but I'll do it later, or I don't have the resources to do it now. or you think of these reasons, and sometimes stuff goes for months, and like it was so bad for me that a lot of the time I would just never get it done. I would actually wait until it became irrelevant, and I would never address it. And the procrastination was really bad, and everybody knew it was really bad. Because people can tell if you're the sort of person who gets stuff done or not. And I really tried to figure out, like, how do I stop sitting around and how do I actually get stuff done? And I would theorize for hours. I would think up these big plans, and I'd write out these plans about what I was going to do. And that eventually led into me actually being able to set goals really well. So that was a skill that carried over to when I could actually get stuff done. But it was so bad because half the time I would just never get it done. I'd write out this whole thing about how to get it done, and I would never actually do it. So what is agility? What is the concept of agility? Agility is a super important concept. I think of it like, I'm a nerd, so I think of things in like stats. And you know how in Dungeons and Dragons you have strength and agility and wisdom and charisma and everything? Agility is like how fast you move, and agility is like how well you can respond to things happening. And the way I think of this is when someone gives you a task, or when you know you have to do something, can you make a decision on it right there? What happens when something comes into your purview, when something comes into your mind in your life, what happens? Do you put it in your phone? Do you add it to a to-do list? Or do you say, how do I get this done right now? Okay, how do I get on that? How do I get on this right now? And this simple change of thinking was huge for me. I call it, you need to be an extremist for action. You need to be a zealot for action. So this needs to become your religion. Action is anything that happens. Anything that happens, so someone says, hey, we need to talk to somebody about this business thing, and could you rope this guy into a conversation? I go, okay, I'll get on that, and then right away I'll send that email within 2 minutes, or maybe I think of ordering something on Amazon. I order stuff on Amazon all the time. And I got into the mode of, so this is a good story about this. So a couple days ago, I drink, anybody that follows my Instagram and follows my Snapchat, everything, they know that I drink lemon water every morning. And I love this lemon water, but I have this tiny lemon squeezer. It's like a lemon squeezer for ants. It's this big, and it was so annoying because I'd put these jumbo lemons in it, and they'd explode over the top, and I'd lose half my juice. It's like first world problems, I know, but this was a big issue. And instead of, I was like, I would really have a better life if I just spent the $10 to get a jumbo lemon squeezer. And I typed in Amazon, I got jumbo lemon squeezer, and I got this like huge thing. I got this huge lemon squeezer. It's like this big. I can put a freaking orange in the thing, and then it'll squeeze that. It's amazing. And it totally made my mornings easier. And it was because I had that proclivity, I had that zealousness for action. It was like, I'm not gonna wait around and get annoyed by this stupid lemon squeezer. I'm just gonna order it, and then there it is, because Amazon is amazing. Same day shipping. Jumbo lemon squeezer is here. Problem solved. Same with emails. I've just gotten in that mindset. It's, okay, we have 2 people come in for a meeting. Yeah, we're gonna need to email that guy. We're gonna need to bring that in. We're gonna need to talk about that. Oh, that's a good idea for the business. Yeah, let me put that on a to-do list somewhere where it's gonna sit for months. No, let's get that emails chain started. Let's set a date. Let's actually get that done. And it's a thinking mindset too. It's a mindset where you say, what is the fastest way I can activate on this, get to it, and do it? And it changes your life completely when you think about things like that. What you want to do is you want to always think about the fastest way that you can get into the action of doing something. And sometimes you do need to plan stuff, and sometimes you need to think about things. Like, I need to do prep for these videos, or you need to prepare a speech. But how fast can you activate on that? How fast can you start dedicating an hour a day to that? Do you need to wait 2 hours or 5 hours or 2 weeks to do that? Or can you do that right now? And it's really the mindset of breaking things into a series of steps that will get you to start thinking about how you can act immediately on something. So you want to think about this concept of agility, and you want to think about it as a concept of like a stat. It's a stat that maybe you start and your agility is like 4. And then as you practice this, your agility will get to 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10, and it will get higher and higher and higher. And in any kind of RPG, the max stat is like 18. So eventually when you have like 16, 17 agility, everybody starts noticing and respects you as a person that can really start to get stuff done. And there's just such an impression that you can make on someone. I know that when I was at a conference, I was at PAX South, and this guy from Amazon, it's like I'm hyping Amazon in this video, it's the second story with Amazon in it, but it's actually true. This guy from Amazon who was like one of the business development dudes, he met me, he shook my hand, handed me his card, said, yeah, I'll definitely send you an email about these next steps. So we talked about some stuff that had to do with video games, and we had some like plan for how we were going to interact later. And he said, I'll definitely send you an email. And a lot of people, they tell you, they'll send you an email and then maybe they'll do it like 3 days later, maybe it'll be a week, especially at a convention because you're so busy and you're 24/7, you're at a convention. This guy sends me an email in 5 minutes. Like I left, he left, and we like shook hands. He sends me the follow-up email in 5 minutes. That is agility. That guy has 18 agility. That guy has 19 agility. He's an elf. He has elven agility. That's crazy. Like, if you can do that, that made such an impression on me, and I'm like, that's why this guy is a VP at Amazon, because he has that kind of agility, and he doesn't mess around. Where even for me, it might take me like 4 or 5 days. Right now, like at the current state that I'm in, it might take me 4 or 5 days to respond to somebody. I'm still responding to people at PAX South, and that was like almost 2 weeks ago. So, can you have that agility? And it's really just practice. It's just like hammering down the practice, where it's like you put that stop in your mind and you're like, nope, I'm not gonna let this wait. And if it's a really big project that needs to wait, I'm gonna do it the first thing in the morning, or I'm gonna do it the first time I can. So agility is everything, and you have to think about how you can build your stat in agility. And once you have that 18 in agility, everyone around you is going to notice it, and they're gonna respect you. They're gonna say, that's a guy that gets stuff done. You can give that to him, and he's gonna get it done. And you just need to separate into your mind, how can I break this into easy steps where I can immediately create something in my life where this is happening? And a great way to think about it is to ask yourself the question, who can help with this? Who can immediately help with this? Who's someone that I can text, that I can call, that I can put into an email that'll help with this? I think that's the way that a lot of great leaders think, is that they get this idea and it's a really great idea. They don't want it to die, so they just immediately toss it into a group of people, and then they will use an application like Boomerang, which I use for Gmail, which sends back the email 2 days later. And that reminds them to keep on a person about this. I also think that there's a forced culture in agility, in that if you start to act with agility, other people around you will act with agility too. And there's something to be said about keeping those people in your life that have high agility. I think like the guy from Amazon is gonna be someone that I really want to talk to, and someone I really want to interact with, because there's a ton of potential in a relationship with that person, because I know they get stuff done. Now, what's gonna happen is that all the other people with agility are thinking like that too. So you need to make sure that you have the agility, because if you don't, those people are gonna write you off. If you get back to people in 2 weeks in an email, they're gonna be like, this person is BS, like I don't wanna deal with this person. So how fast can you act on something? Can you get rid of all your notions and your theory and everything? And I think a really last important critical component of this, are you willing to sacrifice 10 to 20% or even higher of the quality of something in exchange for speed? It's really important. Are you willing to sacrifice 10, 20, 30% of the quality that you might get out of something in exchange for speed? Meaning, if I try to make the perfect video, if you try to make the perfect assignment, if you try to write the perfect essay, if you try to build the perfect website, it is going, that last 5 to 10% that you spend on the perfection of it and just getting those little kinks and theorizing everything is going to cost you everything. Can you sacrifice the 20% and you can have something that's a little bit janky, or you can have something that's a little bit has some kinks in it and it's a little bit weird? Can you do that? And are you okay with it? And if you are, then can you move with speed? You need to be willing to sacrifice some of the quality in your life for speed, because no one cares. No one cares. No one cares that it's not absolutely perfect. No one notices the imperfections in your work like you do. There are so many times where this is true, where I will do a video or something, and I'll look at it and I'll be like, oh my God, that's terrible. Everyone in the comments is going to think like that was terrible. And then nobody even notices it. They don't even care, because they're just focusing on your message, and you're the most critical proponent of your own work. Like, you're always going to criticize yourself more than anybody else. So you just need to be willing to sacrifice for speed. Agility is everything. The more agile you can be, the more people will respect you, and the more agile you are, the more you'll get stuff done. So if you just incorporate this into your life and you make that commitment, you say, I am going to be a zealot for action. I am going to have agility. I'm going to raise my agility stat, and you focus on that, you are going to double, triple, even quadruple your productivity. Leave a comment in the section below. Try it. Try it for a day and tell me what happens. Come back to my YouTube channel and tell me. I read every comment. I want to know. This has changed my life. I want to make sure it changes yours too. Thank you very much for watching this video. Really looking forward to seeing you again next time. Please subscribe if you got some value out of this channel. Helps me out a lot.
You've got the contract. Now go. Recomputing.
Hey everyone, Devin Nash here with a new video for you. Today I want to talk about overthinking, execution, and what stops us from getting our goals. Overthinking is something that I think almost everybody is guilty of. And what it is most people spend a lot of time thinking about ideas or thinking if their ideas could work, but they focus very little on execution. Execution means getting things done. And in this video, I want to give you a really easy 3-step process to how I actually execute. I think a large part of the reason why I am where I am today is because I follow up and I try to get things done, and I spend very little time on ideas. Ideas are worth pretty much nothing in our society. If you go get any 5 people or 10 people in a room, you'll probably come up with enough ideas for a bunch of great businesses in the next years that are going to come. And you can think about all the ideas that you want to do to become successful or achieve your dreams, and that's not going to do anything to get you there. So we need to focus on execution. We need to focus on what it actually means to do something. And the first thing we need to do, which is step 1, is we have to plan that. Now this is the part where you think, and it's the only part where you think, and it's the shortest time. You want to plan what your stops are on the way to getting your goal. So I'm going to use an example like making a video. So if I'm going to make a video, the first thing I want to do is I want to storyboard that video, and I want to come up with an idea of what I want that video to be about. So let's say I want that video to be about overthinking. Okay, then I kind of have a rough idea. I might jot down 3 or 4 ideas, and I'll set myself a time limit so that I know when that time limit is done, I'm going to be done with my thinking phase. I'm not going to sit around and I'm going to say, oh, wouldn't it be really great if I did that video? Or here's all these great ideas. Because there's a part in planning where at some point the kind of like extra 10% that you do to plan and is not going to contribute to the overall goal if you just do it. So you need to be willing to sacrifice 10 to 20% of the quality of the thing you're doing. You know, I could think about all these like fancy editing techniques, and I could think about all this text I want to put on this video and all this production quality stuff, but I'm probably never going to do the video if I think about all that stuff. If I just stand in front of the camera and I say, okay, I've got my rough idea, I'm going. Okay, that or let's, you know, if you're gonna do like a business, or you're trying to like start something like a Twitch stream, if you focus on all this time where you're trying to build the actual stream and okay, I need 1080p and I need this camera and all this stuff, you're never gonna do it. The best thing you should do is just get some janky camera and set it up and just start talking, start streaming, right? That's the best thing you can do because that's actual execution. So on step 1 in the planning phase, don't focus too much on that high level stuff, like the high quality stuff. Get to that later when you've consistently executed on your goal for a while. Then you can start thinking about production quality, and then you can start thinking about all the things that you want to add to it after you have a consistent track record of proving that you can do it, okay? That's step 1, is planning. Get a few things down on paper, and then don't be afraid to go. Start executing, start getting it right. Okay, so once you've done that, number 2 is you want to allocate time blocks. You want to allocate 20 to 90 minute time blocks to complete what it is you're doing. So what I do during my day is I write down a general idea of the ideas and the types of planning that I want to do. Then I set 20, 30, 45, 50, 90-minute time blocks where the only thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna focus on executing that goal, right? I've already got the micro steps, I've already got the small things that I'm gonna do to achieve that goal written down. I know what I have to do, so now it's a matter of actually sitting down and executing it. And it's very important to set these time blocks and eliminate every distraction you have. Whether it be Twitter, whether it be Facebook, whether it be Reddit, whatever it be, you just say, for these 20 minutes, I am just going to focus on this task. Then I can do whatever. I can take a break. I can go do something else. I can go talk to someone. But this 20 minutes, if I get a distraction, I get an interruption, I get a phone call, I'm not going to do anything about that. I'm just going to focus on this until that 20 minutes are over. And I think a large amount of your success will be dictated about how many of these blocks you can have successfully today. If you have 3 or 4 blocks of 20 minutes of work, you're actually doing a lot more than probably anyone does with their entire day. If you have 5 or 6 blocks of 60 to 90 minutes of great work, you're doing way more than probably an entire team of office workers are doing. So that's a perspective on how effective you can be if you set time blocks, okay? And then the third solution is to review. Reviewing means at the end of every week, mine is every Friday, I review everything that I did and I say, okay, what worked for me? What did not work for me? How were my time blocks used effectively? How were some of them not used so effectively, and what can I improve? Create a to-do list, and then create a not-to-do list, just as important, around the things that you thought you did very successfully and the things that you didn't think went so well, okay? Now, once you've reviewed it, go back to the planning stage for next week and set your time blocks again. And this is how you're gonna be, and just repeat the process, right? Okay, now you're doing planning again, now you're doing the time blocks, now you're doing the review again. And create this process for whatever you wanna do. So if you want to produce streams, for example, if you wanna live stream consistently, plan how your week's gonna look like, plan when it's gonna be, set the time blocks up, and make sure you commit to it, do nothing else, and then review what worked, what didn't. If you wanna make videos, same thing. You wanna start a business, you wanna start a writing career, okay, let's take a look at that real quick, okay? I'm gonna plan to write something for 20 minutes a day in the morning. This is the kind of subjects and the content that I wanna cover, and maybe first to do that I need to build a blog, so I'm gonna use this process to do that. Okay, I'll plan that out, I'll get my time blocks down where I'm gonna work on that, and then I'll review what worked and what didn't. So using this technique, you can start to very effectively execute. And I want you to get it out of your head as much as possible. Spend as little time on the ideation as possible. There are a million people emailing me a million ideas, you know? It's all nothing, because I inevitably always reply back and I'm like, well, what have you actually done to work on the idea? What have you been doing? They say, oh, you know, I've made a couple of videos, or I've done this a couple of times. Your success is not going to come unless you are consistent. I will repeat that. Your success is not going to happen. You will never achieve success unless you're consistent. The small victories are what build up to the big win. It's not, there's no overnight success. There's no overnight victory. It's the gradual stuff that builds up every single day because you're hammering away at your craft and your talent that then gets you that success. And it looks like to everybody else says, oh, whoa, this guy just came from nowhere. That's not the case. It's never the case. Your success comes from the daily building of your activities. So, solutions, okay? Plan, create a time block, right? 20, 30, 40, 45 minutes, whatever you need. Create that time block, and then review. Let me know how this process works for you. If you try it, if it works for you, if it doesn't work for you, leave it in the comments below. If you have questions for me, I'll answer them on these videos. You can send me hashtag AskDMN or send me your question on Twitter. I will take a picture of it and I'll put it on this video and I will answer the question for you, whether it be lifestyle, personal development, business, whatever you want, I'll answer it for you. And if you like these videos, please do comment on them. Tell me I respond to as many comments as possible, and subscribe to the channel if you really like this content. I'll be doing a lot more of it. So thank you very much. I hope you start executing. I hope you're getting your dreams. Remember, doing, not thinking. Thank you very much. See you again next time.
Players, by the way, I love you, but this is definitely the worst resume we've screened so far. It is complete ass. Just to give you a benchmark, it is horrible.
Jesus Christ, Ethan, calm down, dude. Okay.
مستر دياب المدير الجديد بتاع النايت شيفت
some people get 50 followers on social media and never grow a single follower past that? And why do some get hundreds of thousands, if not millions? Likewise, why are there some businesses that make millions of dollars and other businesses that just fail out the gate or never gain any traction or following? This is the question that I have been obsessed with my entire life, and I believe I found the answer. I'm going to teach in this video how to build multi-million-dollar businesses as well as how to grow giant brands, all based on the same marketing theory. And that sounds like a strong claim from somebody, and it is, but I have done it myself twice, and like I said, I devoted my life to this, and I think I can do it. That's what this video will do. It will show you the theory behind building millions of dollars of value, but you will still have to act on it. It is not a panacea. You will still have to listen and act on it, but the theory will be there, and it will be interesting to anybody interested in this kind of stuff. So starting with the classic, we're going to use my favorite application to teach this. It takes one application to teach this. It's Notepad. We're going to do some starter definitions, and for some people, this will be kind of like a crash course in marketing, but we're going to go into some pretty advanced stuff. So if you want to make money, you need people to buy your product and service. That's pretty straightforward, right? Starting pretty easy. I don't think I need to explain that. So the process of acquiring people to do that is called UA. UA is called user acquisition. Companies are not really focused on anything besides user acquisition these days for actual creation of value. If you want, the difference between building $1 million business and building a $10 business is the users that will pay for your product or service. And that is the basic definition to understand for that. So how do I get users to buy, or how do I get viewers to watch? This is the thing that people are obsessed about 24/7, 365 in their businesses. And in the upcoming world of AI, there will essentially be infinite content and businesses and ideas, etc. And you can see this already happening in text, where GPT is prominent in places like Twitter, where there's just enormous amounts of thousands of obnoxious threads, which means that we need to be able to figure out a way to cut through the noise. How do you create real influence? All right. To understand that, we're going to start with intermediate definitions, intermediate to advanced definitions. We're going to do 3 definitions here, and then you're going to start to see how this works. So definition number 1 is the definition of an impression. You've probably heard that term, especially if you're a watcher of this channel, you know that term. That term basically refers to an impression as it's concerned with like social media. But these are not Google's definitions, they're my definitions of how I think about this in a marketing standpoint. So a impression is essentially a touch. It's an idea or feeling that is formed about a topic, a product, or a service. It's a single imprint, and not all impressions are created equal. Some impressions are more valuable than others. So social media doesn't really differentiate this. Social media will give you the number of impressions, like your tweet, for example, might hit 500,000 people, but the quality of those impressions is something we're going to discuss in a minute, and it matters a lot for what we're talking about today. So you have to understand what an impression is. That means that I have managed to impress once upon you an idea or feeling. So if I make a tweet about my product, let's say my product is, the example I'm going to be using is a VR, like let's say it's a VR product, or the VR industry, like a headset or a VR headset. Then the first mention I make of that on a Twitter post that you read, where you've now been impressed upon that idea, that is one impression, okay? That's definition number 1. Definition number 2 is an idea in marketing called the network effect. And the network effect is something called, it's basically a platform's relevance and the number of people on that platform will dictate, in some sense, how widespread a topic will become. All right, that's a little bit more complicated, so let's get into what that means. A platform's relevance, so let's take Twitter, for example, which is a relevant platform for conversations right now, and the number of people is hundreds of millions on it, will dictate, in some sense, how widespread a topic will become. Why? So let's take a topic like the VR industry again. The number of people on the platform that are talking about it, the network effect means that if you imagine and envision a circle, which we don't actually need to do because I can draw it. This is the second application that I use. If you imagine a circle and all of these people that are outside of it discussing this topic, okay? the more that there are discussing this topic that are feeding in to this idea, the bigger this circle becomes. And the more people that are talking about it, the more events that are created. Now all of a sudden there's conventions, now there's more impressions, now there's people talking about it. Now the media picks it up, right? And there's like a big person over here. This is like, let's say this is like
Left.
CNN or someone, okay? And now all of a sudden the circle is like this big because the circle, basically the circle adds to each time. All these people add their little circles and everybody keeps getting bigger and bigger. The network effect eventually produces an enormous circle where formerly it just would have been one thing like this. Okay, just as a result of everybody kind of adding into it. You ever play that game? It's gonna be like 3 people that know this reference. There was a game on a browser, I think it was called Agario, where you had a little blob and the blob eats other blobs, and the bigger the blob becomes, the more blobs it eats. That's basically the network effect. I did not have that in the script for this video, but it is actually a perfect reference. That's the network effect. All right, definition number 3, this is the last one, and that is the saturation effect. So the saturation effect says that it's a theory, again, this is my definitions, a theory that more impressions lead to more positive preferences or more likely purchases of that topic, product, or service. So what's the saturation effect? Well, the saturation effect is something we've known in marketing for a long time. It was demonstrated in 1968 by a person named Robert Zajonc, and it's called the mere exposure effect. So what the study showed was that you could expose somebody to the same idea and the same topic over and over again, and over time, the relevance of that topic and the sort of effect of that topic would lead that person to talk about that topic more, convert better on buying things around that product or things like that. So you probably have heard of the saturation effect in the sense of like the type of marketing that a very large company like Coca-Cola does, or the type of marketing that a big company like Fortune 500 does. They're using the saturation effect. They're basically hoping that they nobody's telling you right now. You might see an ad to buy Coca-Cola. Nobody expects you to buy that ad, that Coke off of that ad right there. But what they will do is they will impress that upon you. Remember we talked about those impressions over and over and over again until they know that at some point you'll be like, without consciously being aware of it, you'll just preference that. Maybe you're at a gas station, you have a choice between the two, and that conscious preference will be there. That's the saturation effect. And so what we're going to do to teach what I promised in the beginning of the video is we're going to combine all of these 3 into an actual set of actions we can do. And I'm going to show you how I've done this for 2 businesses and how you can do it. So to understand the next step, we have to understand what I said before, which is impressions are not created equal. So definition number 1 of impression, the idea of a touch or topic or product or service. Actually, impressions are, I would divide them into 3 different categories in terms of the quality of the impression. Okay, so the first is an untrusted right? So that means I don't know who this person is. I don't particularly like them. and I cannot verify that they are a person of authority. So that is the least quality impression, right? Just some random account on Twitter with 10 followers. You're not likely to trust that impression as much as you are the next impression, which is from a trusted source. Meaning, I trust this person. Sorry, that's actually number 3, because the next one is from a verifiable source. You do not personally relate to this person, know them, or like them, but you can verify that they are a person of authority. Maybe you're trying to research new viruses and you're talking to a virologist and you know that this person is a verifiable source. Great. That is a higher quality impression. Oftentimes that's enough to make people believe basically anything. Actually, you can kind of just stop there. It's kind of scary how much a verifiable source, like a doctor or like a expert marketer or somebody, can convince you of something, and you just believe it. But trusted source is next. That means I know, like, and trust this person, and that's the highest quality impression, which means like and they don't necessarily have to be verifiable. These two are mutually exclusive. So the highest quality impression is your best friend telling you have to try this product, like it was amazing for me, and they give you a complete anecdote that might not even work, like some supplement or something, and you're like, okay, great, and you try that because you know, like, and trust them. That's the most likely that you're going to buy a product from a trusted source. For this reason, that's why influencers are so powerful, right? Influencers are trusted sources, and sometimes they're trusted and verified. Verifiable. So a trusted influencer is somebody who has kind of won your heart over through a series of positive impressions to make to convince you they're either a great entertainer or they're a great authority on the topic. Hopefully, if you've been watching a lot of my videos, I have convinced you that I'm a trusted source when it comes to marketing. I have a bunch of experience backing me up. I'm also a verifiable source. You can look, oh, that guy sold 2 companies. He is currently working in the industry as an agency. He's able to talk about this stuff from a verifiable place, so I'm at least that. But to some people, I'll be a trusted source, meaning that if I did want to later sell you something, I don't, but if I did, I would have these things going for me and my impressions would be quite high quality, like much higher quality than somebody that's coming in that would say that's untrusted, unverifiable. Okay, so now you understand the basic definitions, and if you're quick, you're probably already starting to figure out how you can kind of combine these things, but the actions are going to really be the thing that take this video to the next level. All right, so based on everything we know now, a person will buy something when in their mind they reach maximum saturation effect, aka they've received enough impressions of that product or service to believe it solves their problem. Why do people buy anything? Why do people do anything? They are always trying to solve a problem, even if they don't know what that problem is. Why do you buy a gym membership? Because your problem is you are not fit. People don't like you because you are the blob and you roll around, and nobody likes that. So you are going to purchase a gym membership. Why do people buy courses? Because they want to learn a skill to make more money. Why do people download and do premium service dating apps? Because they want to get a girl or boy. Why do people, on and on, every single thing that is ever bought in this world, debatably that's ever done in this world, in an outward effect, is done to try to solve a problem that somebody has. So if I can give you enough impressions to convince you that I will solve your problem, you will buy my product or service. It's subjective how many it takes. Researchers have shown that it takes between 3 to 6 impressions about 15 to 20 years ago, and nowadays can take up to 10 to 12 impressions on somebody to make them buy. Now that's extremely interesting, and that is beyond the topic of this video, but let's just talk about it for a second because I just love this kind of stuff. Why is that the case? probably it's because we don't know, but probably it's because